Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, Mark Elrich picks his transition team. Cutting up the congressional pie. Who will draw up the new congressional district maps and when? And does MCPS condone a rape culture at Damascus High School because of its winning football program? Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the past president of Progressive Maryland, Elbridge James, Maryland Young Republican National Committeeman, Evan Young, transportation and railway consultant Phil Bell, and political strategist Susan Heltemes. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. 3 weeks ago, 4 junior varsity football players were allegedly sodomized on school property in their locker room by fellow teammates in what one victim described as a ritual of the Damascus football program. Montgomery County Police have arrested 5 teens in connection with the incident and have charged them with second-degree rape. However, little else has been done by MCPS Superintendent Jack Smith. No action has been taken against the principal, Casey Krause, the athletic director, Joe Duty, the varsity football coach, Eric Wallach, or JV head coach, Vinnie Colbert. Consider this. The varsity football team has 7 coaches. The JV football team has 8. In addition, the football program has 4 support staff. Where were any of these people when the alleged event occurred, and why has none of them been held accountable? We know what happened, and we know what happened on school property. Elbridge, why hasn't the county executive said anything? And is MCPS doing enough?
I think all the responsible adults are looking at the police reports and waiting for the police investigation to finalize. I'm hoping and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that strong measures will be taken once the report is finalized and brought to all their attentions. And also the legal process has been finalized and taken place.
Elbridge, I understand the judicial system. I understand these are minors, but I also understand that the institution has to take some action. Superintendent Jack Smith sent a video to all of the students. Well, you know what a teenager is going to do when he sees that video? He isn't going to watch it. It's, this is more than hazing. They need to step in.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you, Casey. But also the school system needs to agree with the police and the parents and come up with a workable solution.
Oh, that is a cop-out. That is a cop-out. That's what happened. That's what happened at the University of Maryland. They didn't do anything until the situation got horrendous and was so intolerable that they had to fire everybody. A kid died at Maryland. We can't tolerate this kind of behavior.
But Casey, you got to think about it for a second. Is this horrible? Absolutely. Evan's a football player. We've all been in locker rooms and the like, and we know that there is a fair amount of leeway that coaches and responsible adults do give to the kids, because this is not the sort of thing that any reasonable person expects to have happen.
I just want to jump in on that
because what I'm saying here is that MCPS is being negligent in their duties by not stepping in and doing something about this and addressing it forcefully with the school and with the football program.
Casey,
Go to Evan.
I want to jump in because any locker room, any team I was a part of throughout high school, throughout college, there's always a level of hazing or rituals, initiation that goes on. But the thing that stands out to me, it never got close to the level of what they're describing here. And the thing that stands out to me was any team I was ever a part of, if it was going to this level, the coaches are always the last ones to find out what's going on. Your players find out first, teammates find out first. But this would have been handled and people would have gotten held accountable by your teammates. If you're jeopardizing something we're all trying to do here, something we're trying to accomplish, rising to the level of this and sexual assault against your teammates, upperclassmen or other players would have put a stop to that physically before it ever got to the coaches on any locker room I was ever part of.
Well, you say that, but the victim here said that he heard about this when he was in middle school, and he couldn't believe it. And why should he? Yeah. Because it's barbaric behavior.
No, so
but he says it happened, and it's been happening for years. Susan,
I've never been in a locker room. First of all, I want to add that. I think that the school system, Mr. Leggett, a lot of people are really walking on eggshells right now because they are underage. I know that they are incarcerated, but it is underage people. And I think that they're right in saying when we find out what's going on, there is going to be punishment to be had. But I think that what they should do is let them finish out the season. And I would recommend that if Damascus should win the state tournament and it's found out that this has been happening, that the state has the good sense to take away their title. If not, let the school system take it away and give it to the kid's team that comes in second, because this is just abhorrent.
But let me ask you a question. So you're on that football team. You play hard. You're not participating in this. You're not a part of this in any way. You win a state title. Let's take it away.
No, because you know what? If you miss the important part of this, if we find out that it's been going on and there is this culture, much like, as Casey alluded to, the culture at the University of Maryland, even if the coaches didn't know about it, what do they say? See something, say something, and it might have been powers of intimidation and retribution. There could be race issues involved. Who knows what all the issues are? However, there has to be something done to say this is over in Damascus, and it's too bad, but something's going to come.
And then Evan, quickly.
You have to think about, again, going back to what the whole thing is like. We're assuming, what is this taking place in front of everybody where they're standing cheering them on? Is this something that's happening in a place where not everybody knows about it? We don't know.
That's
why Elbridge is right in that it's important to make sure that the police reports are done and everything is understood about the situation. But again, you're missing the point. You want to penalize people who had nothing to do with it. And that's unacceptable.
No, I don't agree with you. I agree with Susan, actually, because if there's been a history of this going on, then upperclassmen know about it, and people on the varsity
and eventually
have known
somebody's got to pay.
And this conversation here is why I go back to the other culture I'm surprised about, is that these upperclassmen, if they knew it was happening, didn't put an end to it, because you 9th, 10th grade kids are jeopardizing my state championship here because you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
But fear, retribution, you don't know what all the issues are involved. And this report is, I think, going to be one of the reports when it comes out that everyone...
Like if there's this culture of leadership, which is what football is supposed to foster, those upperclassmen should have taken care of this long ago. And if
maybe decades ago.
And if there's a history of it, this is intolerable behavior. But I'm disappointed that there's been nothing from the county executive or the county executive-elect, and I think MCPS has done not enough to address this serious.
The county executive did make a statement and said it's unconscionable and that we have to wait for the results.
That's a tut-tut. I'm going to keep my hands off it response. When we go to our next, let's go on to our next topic, which is, it's not surprising, given the persona that surrounds County Executive-elect Mark Elrich, that reporter Josh Kurtz wrote that Elrich kicks off his MoCo transition process without the usual suspects. Evan, the transition team is heavy on social activists, failed politicians, and 2 members described as business leaders. What can we expect of the Elrich administration?
I think we can expect more of what we've seen for the past 10 years already, just maybe even worse. Mark Elrich was there for a 13% property tax increase.
What do you mean?
He was there for a 9% property tax increase, more tax increases, a continued non-business friendly environment. He said that we needed more jobs in Frederick County. Well, over the past 10 years, Frederick County has gotten over $500 million of Montgomery County residents' taxable income that has moved out of the county and gone to Frederick County. Frederick County, Howard County, Loudoun County, Fairfax County, all are getting tax-paying, high-income families from Montgomery County moving to those counties. On average, they have a 26% higher income, the families moving out of the county to those 4 I just described, than the families moving into Montgomery County. So we'll continue to see tax increases that he's been supportive of. We'll continue to see jobs and income fleeing to other counties and Montgomery County continuing to lag behind. Over the past decade, we've had a 0% net growth in employment in the county. I don't see why elevating Mark Elrich will change that.
All right, Elbridge, you were an Elrich supporter during the election, I believe.
Still am.
Still am? All right. So while Mr. Elrich was on the council, he supported increases in minimum wage, expansion of sick leave, and in 2016, an 8.7% property tax increase. He's considered anti-business. Why should the business community embrace Mr. Elrich?
The business community needs to embrace Mark Elrich because they want to do business in the county. If you don't want to do business where, in fact, we have the best education, great transportation, safe streets, a good working environment, and basically where there's property available to start up a business that is reasonable for those communities, then go somewhere else. Montgomery County is one of the best places to live when I wasn't living here and still is now that I'm living here.
But the statistics belie what you just said.
Math doesn't support that.
The public school system is not as highly rated as it used to be. The transportation system stinks. You can't get from the east side of the county to the west side of the county, and don't try going north and south on 270 because it's impossible. And bus rapid transit isn't going to improve.
That's not Mark's fault.
Bus rapid transit isn't going to improve that. So what is he going to do to improve the life of Montgomery County residents?
There are transportation officials and transportation specialists on his list. I've seen that. There are business-friendly persons on his list. I've seen that.
Elbridge,
so they have the opportunity, but they have the opportunity to do it.
Mark is still talking about how terrible the ICC is, and he did not support the Purple Line. And I have been told by business officials who supported Nancy Florine that they have reached out to Mark Elrich and he hasn't responded. And he has told people, I don't need to go to the business people who supported her. I have my own. He said he invited David Blair. David Blair declined to be on his transition team. So I think Mark has a lot to do, and there are a lot of people who are worried about him because he has not supported transportation and he has not reached out to people who supported Nancy. And until he does this, our county is going to get worse. And when you talk about education, under Governor Hogan, we've gone from #1 to 6 in the state. And everyone is concerned about Mark working with Governor Hogan. And he said the other day, I haven't called him. My people I don't need to talk to him. He's wrong. The day after he won, he should have called Governor Hogan, because as you well know, and everybody in this room knows, that if you don't have a good relationship with the governor, you are screwed, because he is the most powerful governor in the state. That's why people are worried.
So Phil, we're gonna keep on this idea of what we can expect from the county executive elect. Right. One of his chief initiatives, he says, is to improve the environmental community here in Montgomery County. He wants to improve the environment. He wants to conduct a war on businesses who are polluting in the county. What impact is that going to have on the businesses of Montgomery County?
Wait a minute, you're talking about a war on businesses that are polluting in the county, not that are doing good environmental work.
Well,
you
first
said polluting.
Of all, hold on. I want to say
said
something
green gas.
very, very important. Right up until, Susan, you started blaming Governor Hogan for Montgomery County schools. It was the first time where I agreed with you in a very long time. Most of that I did. So that tells you what kind of twilight zone we're in. What Mark Elrich has said as far as the environment is concerned in business and what he's done overall, it tells you how bad a county executive he's really going to be. So we were talking about businesses that pollute. Wait a second. Everything that supposedly is polluting are things we need. It makes up everything around us. It makes up this stuff. So we need that. We need a broad variety of jobs. We need something so that everybody has an opportunity to grow. Mark Elrich is going in the absolutely wrong direction, and the only thing that's going to be worse than traffic now is the traffic with all the Montgomery families going to Fairfax.
I can understand why the development community is scared to death about what's going to happen. Just this past week, the county council voted to have home developers give all residents an option for solar panels. Well, that's a wonderful idea, but why should the development community be forced to do this? This is an added cost and an added expense.
Actually, companies now are putting on solar panels for free because they get something out of it too.
But that's independent. That's not requiring the developer put solar panels on his house. That's something separate that an individual can contract.
Casey, but you said they gave them the option.
Yeah.
And a lot of our modern and our new generation are coming up are looking at energy alternatives. Now, we could be dinosaurs and not think about it.
It's the message that's being sent. And this is the message that's being sent by Montgomery County constantly to the development community. We're going to mandate that you do this. We're going to make you pay for our mistakes. We're going to make you pay for affordable housing. And all those costs, they get passed on to the consumer. They get passed on to the guy who wants to live in Montgomery County, who's going to end up living in Arlington or Courthouse and not live in Montgomery County.
We got empty houses in Montgomery County now?
Casey,
Yeah, because they all left to Frederick.
No, we haven't.
You know what? There is a good side of this. The people moving to Frederick and Loudoun County are turning those places blue, and they're voting Democratic. So that's the good side.
Yeah, they fled the county but kept their voting habits. Now they're ruining another place.
Well, now they're voting in two counties. All right, when we come back from this short break, cutting up the congressional pie, we just talked about it. Who's going to draw up the new congressional district maps? Stay tuned. And welcome back. At first blush, the decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals that the state's 6th congressional district to be unconstitutionally gerrymandered and had to be redrawn before the 2020 election seemed like a huge victory for Republicans. But was it? Susan Attorney General Brian Frosch has appealed the decision, and if the Supreme Court takes it up, it may be another 18 months before a final decision is brought down, which would require the governor and the General Assembly the task of redrawing the 6th congressional district. So is it possible to get it done before 2020?
Yes, because in Pennsylvania, where it's far more egregious on the Republican side, they had to redraw lots of districts, and I think they had something like 3 months to do it. And they all got done in time, and the voters changes. And from my perspective, it was good because we gained some more Democratic votes there. But it can be done in a short amount of time.
So if Democrats were unhappy with it in Pennsylvania, why is our Democrat Attorney General trying to defend it in Maryland? Is gerrymandering good or bad?
Democrats were happy in Pennsylvania with the changes. The problem you have
with the changes.
Yeah, with the changes.
So why are you against the changes in
I'm
Maryland?
getting ready to go where you're going.
No,
the problem you have.
I want to hear from Elbridge.
The problem you have is that we have basically allowed politicians to decide who's going to run for office. Again, I'm a Democrat, but I'm saying it. It is time to put it in the hands of the people and then let the elected officials respond to the response. It's happening in Pennsylvania. It's going to happen here.
Evan,
the Supreme Court drew the map in Pennsylvania.
And,
out of response to gerrymandering.
That's because the politicians couldn't do it. You think that's going to happen here?
It wasn't done immediately.
Do you think Maryland Democrats are really going to try their hardest to draw a fair map?
I think they will be forced to, or the court will do it for them.
So the court will do it for them because they
maybe not. I think they got the message.
You do?
Yep.
Well, here's the $64 question. The speculation is that the redrawn district, the 6th district, will favor Republicans. So does that mean that David Trone will be a one-term congressman?
No, he's the perfect candidate. He is the perfect candidate for that 6th district.
Why?
He's a businessman. He has come from tough times, from the farming and rural community. He is the perfect candidate.
He didn't even know the names of the counties past Frederick.
Yeah, the redrawn 6.
He'll learn it.
That doesn't include where he lived. More than likely doesn't include where he lives.
He doesn't live in the district.
That's right. I forgot about
that.
Both candidates lived out of the district.
But we're talking about the one that won, and any fairly redrawn 6th district will be way too far from Potomac for him to make the case to Republicans in Allegheny.
Elbridge, have you ever voted for a Republican in your life? Come on.
Yes.
Yeah?
Connie Morella.
Connie Morella.
Do you know what's interesting though? But even if it
so
does,
do you think those people up in western and northern Maryland are going to vote for David Trump?
They didn't.
He has the money to make it happen.
Huh?
They didn't do it 2 weeks ago. It was Montgomery County.
When you look at the election returns, as Evan is spot on, those votes that he got were all Montgomery County votes.
They're not going to magically start voting for him in 2 years when he still doesn't know where
if more
Cumberland is.
Montgomery Countians flee, there'll be more Democratic voters
I
up
get ready
there.
to say,
I
you
think
can't
Trump
have
will
it all
pull
both
it off.
ways. You're saying Montgomery Counties are moving up to Frederick
Yeah.
and in
They're
Western
not
Maryland.
moving to Allegheny.
Some of them are.
They're not
There are
moving to
people
Garrett.
right here from
They're not
West
moving to
Virginia.
Washington. Come on, man. You know that this guy will be in trouble if they.
I don't think he will. I think that's a sweet dream on your part. It's a pipe dream.
You think it's a sweet dream?
I think he's going to do
You think it's
just
a
fine.
sweet dream?
He's going to
You got
do
money?
fine.
Come on, we're going to have a bet on this because this is too.
No,
is too
he's
delicious.
gonna win.
He's going to open up a liquor store up there. He'll be fine.
He can't do it in Montgomery County because of the
All
law.
right.
Right.
Well, this is getting
State
silly.
legislation.
We got to stay tuned for Parting Shot. And now with Parting Shots, Susan Heltemes.
After all the angst and turmoil of the last 2 years and the increase in all sorts of things going on in our culture that's never been accepted before as acceptable behavior, there was a bright spot in this election. I come from a state where same-day voting on election day, it causes Minnesota to usually be around 75% turnout. Well, Maryland, you did it. We now have same-day registration on primary and general election day, and hopefully that will help us and our turnout will come up. But the other good thing was in Florida, voters voted across all spectrums to allow felons to vote. Up until this time, you had to get an appointment with the governor, which could take 3 or 4 years to get your rights back to vote once you have paid your debt to society. They now can vote. Florida, there are going to be over 1 million new voters next time. Watch out. That's all for the good.
Wonderful. Phil, Bell, your parting shot.
Well, my parting shot goes out to a Floridian who unfortunately was a felon. Dwight Gooden, one of the best New York Mets in history, one of my favorite all time, and actually the guy who I went to see my first baseball game, turns 54 today. So happy birthday, Dwight.
Thank you, Phil. Evan Young, your parting shot.
So Democratic 2020 front-runner Michael Avenatti was in the news again this week. In addition to being Stormy Daniels' lawyer, he was also the guy behind the fabricated, evidence-less claims of gang rape trying to destroy Brett Kavanaugh's life. But now that he's been arrested for domestic abuse, suddenly he's changed his tune and thinks evidence, due process, and waiting to find the facts are a thing again. So it's another great example, just like with David Trone. Liberals hate old, rich white guys buying elections until it's their old, rich white guys buying elections. Democrats think allegations with no proof are enough to derail Brett Kavanaugh's life, but they say, oh, hold on a second now that we're talking about their future president, Michael Avenatti. So it's a great example of liberal hypocrisy on display.
Thank you, Evan. Elbridge, you get to wrap this bad boy up.
Well, first of all, Susan, it's returning citizens or ex-offenders. They're not felons anymore because they have paid their debt to society, and we need to move that forward.
And the press needs to correct.
Correct. I'm saying yay for Melania Trump. She finally stood up for herself and got someone fired who deserved to be fired. You can't keep bullying people around. Melania said, I've taken from one person. I'm not going to take it from two. Thank you, Melania. Okay.
I don't know who that other person is you might be talking about. I mean, it's all fictitious. You guys love making up stories.
Happy Thanksgiving, Casey.
You're right. I think that's the most important message we can give right now, Susan, is that after all the election strife and the turmoil that has gone on, we still have something to look forward to, and that is the most popular holiday that all Americans celebrate, which is Thanksgiving. So I want to wish everybody out there who's watching us a happy Thanksgiving. And I hope that you tune in after Thanksgiving on December 30th when Susan will be hosting. And I want to thank the panel who sacrificed their Friday evenings to appear on our show, and of course the viewers who tune in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.